a little over 2 years after they've completed their 2 years in office. We've got an impeachment motion that, you know, and I'd call it a claim, actually, an impeachment claim against the Deputy President because it hasn't materialized yet. A censure motion was filed by Senator Danson Mungatana from Tana River County at the floor of the Senate as they seek to, you know, what they say, ensure that the Deputy President stays in line. So that is the conversation this morning. We'd love to get to know more about this and some of the issues that the Deputy President was speaking about, what the youth are thinking about it. So who better to have in studio this morning than Nick Mwadime Mwangi, who's the Mkusa National Executive Director, as well as the Youth Chair of the Jubilee Party. Thank you very much, Nick, for your time this morning, and karibu sana. Good to have you back. Thank you so much, Cynthia. Right. It's good to be back. Yes. You know, here at the mountain, yeah. we have a saying that says, it is better you look for a good mother than a beautiful wife for yourself. Well, I'd love to know more about that and what that exactly means. And so, you know, I'll go back to Friday. The Deputy President calls for an interview, does the interview, says things that perhaps people had not expected, confirms that indeed there is a fallout between the head of state and himself, and also confirms that, you know, there are people in place who do not want to see him be the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya. From that particular, I'd call it an interview that he had, what were you thinking? What was going through your mind as you were listening to that? You know, it takes me back pre-2022 elections when my party leader went around warning the people that this government is a government of chaos and drama. And that's why I'm telling you that our people are known to say, you better look for a good mother than a beautiful wife for yourself. And we are found in a situation whereby children are left to look as if you are orphans, and there's no food on the table. So the government is fighting its own self rather than fighting the challenges that are affecting the people of this country. And it's a very sad situation that in the brink of 2 years, we have a crack of the government of the day. And it sends a clear message to each and every single Kenyan across the country that recently, this is what the Gen Zs were saying. Yes. We have come back to a default setting whereby we are saying it's a matter about my tribe, your tribe, our issues, their issues, and it's becoming chaos. And it's a very sad situation whereby the Deputy President is finding himself between a rock and a hard place, because right now we have the Right Honorable Prime Minister and government, and he's on record saying that the Prime Minister is not allowed to go on top of the mountain. Now he's finding himself in a very difficult situation because former President Uhuru Kenyatta say that this is a good leader. Now President Ruto is actually confirming what my party leader was saying. So he's finding himself in a very difficult place. He does not know how to jump, when to jump, and where to jump. So, and it's very unfortunate whereby, as he says, or as he quotes, the office of the Deputy President per se, he said it's very spiritual, but he does not want to say the office is jinxed. But it's a very dire situation that we are focusing on the politics of the country, rather than the issues that are pertaining the Kenyan wananchi. Cynthia, as we speak, our health coverage is still not stable. We have had a recruitment of students coming to universities where I represent. The issues are still not very clear. The new education funding modeling is a total mess. We cannot politicize our issues day in, day night. And that is what I'm praying for this government, Cynthia, that let us stop the politics. Let us work for the Kenyans. They walked county by county, saying and praying and wishing Kenyans a lot of promises. We are not seeing what they promise us. Rather, we are seeing a fight between a father and a mother. And we, the children, cannot take sides. We cannot say the father is bad and the mother is bad, because we were not there. We were not consulted when they were marrying each other.
Yeah.
Yes, Cynthia.
But they came to the people asking for the votes of the people and gave their manifesto on what they wanted to have done. But at what point did the rain start beating this particular administration? Because if you look at what, as you've said, what they had promised. But remember clearly the deputy president during the deputy presidential debate, and he was asked the same question on, you know, what happens if there's a fallout between yourself and the president? And he said, you know, there can never be a fallout. So at what point did the rain start beating this administration?
Well, the rain started beating this administration right from onset, because I remember very well, Cynthia, there was a huge deliberation on who is supposed to deputize President William Ruto. There was the likes of Kindiki, the likes of Ndindi Nyoro, and the likes of now Rigathi Gachagua. And we saw a whole discussion around it. And we have seen clearly that how these struggles start. Recently, we've seen it, the MP of Kiharu and the chairman of Budget Committee, Honorable Ndindi Nyoro, who was circulating or going around the country, propagating as if he has a huge CDF allocation, more than other MPs, that he's doing very well as a member of parliament. But this is all politics, Cynthia said. It's being stirred or it's being cooked to make sure people from certain region are not united. And right from onset, this is what my party leader was saying, that Rigathi Gachagua campaigned on that narrative. Now, the chickens have come home to roast, and it's burning hell on his house. He does not know where to run to, who to run to, who even to talk to. He's living his own nightmare, because he was put in a position to disrespect my party leader, to call him names.
He has made amends, hasn't he?
No, he has not.
He says he's
no, he has not. You see, we know how to apologize, Cynthia. I cannot insult you, Cynthia, then I apologize on camera. You have to do the right apology. I have to come to you physically.
He's reaching out.
I have to come to you physically.
If I reach out to you and I say, Nick, this is what happened, you know, what's the normal? What should be the normal reaction? Should it be that you'll also reach back? Has the former president done that?
No. How is he reaching out, Cynthia? He says that this is his closest kin, his closest friend. He has his phone number. If I have your phone number, Cynthia, how am I supposed to reach to you live through EBN? How is that reaching out? He's making his calculations very well to my party leader. He wants my party leader to fully endorse him as a spokesperson of the mountain. But that is very known. That's the game that he's playing. If truly he's interested about apology, the first person he needs to apologize is first Mama Ngina Kenyatta, because there's a lot of embarrassment that went around withdrawing security, stealing of unnecessary goats and sheep, cutting down of trees at that point of time in the name of decisive politics, Cynthia.
All right, and we'll come to that, Nick, because that's a huge statement. There's a huge statement to which he made when he said, you know, former President Uhuru Kenyatta is the undisputed Mount Kenya kingpin. So we'll come to that and speak on that, because the talks that we're hearing about alliances that could be, you know, a factor as well. But I'll come back to this administration still. Now, if you look at from June, when the uprising over the finance bill 2024 began, and we saw a change in how Kenya politics. It went from, you know, tribal-based to non-tribal, went to issue-based. People were calling out, you know, leaders whom they think are corrupt in office, leaders whom they feel are not delivering in various offices. But here we are, in 3 months, seems we are back to square one. It's now, you know, political politics that, or you know, tribal politics that people are talking about. And so, you know, this quick change seems like we're back to factory setting very fast.
And I told you here the other time I was here, Cynthia, woe unto the man who is quickly carried by any wave, because be as it may, it seemed as if this was another political wave. Remember, we had the Azimio demonstration, almost talking about the same issues that Gen Zs were talking about. We had the Sufuria movement that was led by my boss, Secretary General Jeremiah Kioni, talking about the economy, the education funding model, the economic challenges, the different issues that we have in our country now. And I said it here before, we, the young people, we need to align ourselves well. Let us not get confused in the battles of that we may not necessarily understand. And it's very unfortunate that we as young people are also taking sides. One is, there's a huge lot that is pro-Ruto. There's another huge lot that is pro-Gachagua. We are forgetting the issues on the table. Our parents, our mothers, our children are not going to school. The economy has still not stabilized. There's still no jobs for the young people.
Right.
Yeah, the unemployment rate is still increasing day by day. Cynthia, these are the issues that we should be talking about. These are the issues that I beseech this government that they need to concentrate on working on. We cannot, and I repeat, drink politics, eat politics, and work politics. The government of the day was elected as a purport. Let them serve the people. They had a manifesto to fulfill. Let them serve the people. As you know, that the deputy president is just the principal assistant to the president, right? The president needs to work for the people.
Right.
Yes.
So at this point, now that he's the principal assistant, he's voiced this concern and says, you know, he expects his boss, President William Ruto, to be able to calm the political tensions in the country. Then why has the president done that yet? So that people can focus on delivering to the people rather than...
Unfortunate for them, because I am not yet in government. Because we, the people of the opposition, can only sympathize with the situation. You see, you cannot come in, you are just a neighbor. I'm just a neighbor to the situation. And a couple are just fighting about, let me say, bread. And maybe the bread is not enough on the table.
Right.
So they just need to decide if this bread is enough for the family so that the government can work for the people. Because we understand that there are a lot of allegations going around the sharing of the bread. Cynthia, but that's beside the point, Cynthia. When the president and the deputy president were elected on a joint ticket in 2022, they had a lot of achievements to tell the people. And right now, it seems as if this government needs to go home. They need to clearly tell us, are they tired of being in office? Because they came as a joint ticket. You cannot purport that Honorable Rigathi Gachagua is a bad person and exclude Honorable President William Ruto out of the equation.
So they should come as a package, should be judged as a package?
And go out as a package. That's what we are saying. Because at what point, Cynthia, you convinced us that you came, you and probably your spouse, and said that this is the right choice for you. And we officiated the marriage ceremony. Yeah. We went for traditional wedding. We went for a church wedding. We celebrated. We ate rice. You remember there was a rice ceremony? I remember there is a rice ceremony, right? Yeah. A whole 8 hours rice ceremony. You remember? So we ate the rice. We said that this is a good person. Right now, it's no longer a good person. What happened to the rice that we ate, Cynthia, during that ceremony? So what? This government, they are just playing games with us. They need to get serious. They either decide to work for Kenyans or go home. Yes.
Now, I want to bring in an interesting perspective, and that is on Mount Kenya, which, you know, seems to be such a huge factor in why the rift between these two particular leaders continues to widen. Now, Mount Kenya, as always, has been described as a bride during elections, and always every presidential candidate tries to court this particular region. One, because of just the numbers that you know, they tend to bring. I'd estimated about 5 million votes from this particular region, and what we're looking at is there's now a split. Mount Kenya East, Mount Kenya West. Mount Kenya East, that includes Tharaka Nithi, Embu, Meru, while Mount Kenya West now includes the likes of Kirinyaga, Murang'a, Kiambu, Nyeri. And so, you know, coming from this region, and there's also, you know, being the executive director of Mount Kenya Colleges, Universities and Students Association, you know, where does this leave now Mount Kenya region that has known to be very much united? If they stand united for a particular candidate, that is how it is. But now we're looking at a divided region, two sides of the coin, and you've got Gachagua on one side, the CS for Interior, Professor Kithure Kindiki on the other. So what is happening to this particular region?
You know, unfortunately, that's the conversation that goes on. But I can clearly tell you, the mountain is as strong as possible. We, the people of the mountain, normally just sit down and observe and wait for the right moment and decide our next leader. But that's beside the point, Cynthia. Our leader of the mountain, our solemnly king of the mountain, we call him Udhamaki, is still President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, because he was given the mantle of power just before election of 2012, and he has led the mountain in a way that to make sure that their roads, their children are going to school, our children are going to school, our economy, because we are business people, and that's what we thrive in. Our coffee sector is establishing, our tea sector is establishing, our milk sector is still establishing. Now, the unfortunate situation, he had warned us about the sweet nothings, as people call it, the sweet nothings, that this man who is his deputy at the moment will promise them heaven, but he will not deliver. But unfortunately, the situation that we were in before is because people were struggling to believe the current situation where he had promised yangu 10, huyo mwingine 10. But at that point of time, I do not blame my party leader, because at that point of time, we are coming into a marriage, and you see this marriage can go for another 20 years. But along the marriage, you realize your partner is very decisive, is very cunning, he goes behind your back. So President Kenyatta had to come out and tell us his people, guys, this guy, we cannot trust him. But our people had already put the love for President William Ruto. And that is why they woke up in 2022 to vote in President William Ruto. And that is why President William Ruto is strongly telling his deputy that with or without you, your people had already loving me. And these are the just ways that are being used to make sure the mountain is not united. I assure you, the mountain is united as ever. Come 2027, we will produce a candidate.
Is it because you've got Kimani Ichung'wah on one hand, you've got the likes of Governor Anne Waiguru on one side. On the other side, you've got the likes of Mutahi Kahiga of Nyeri, Gathoni wa Mushomba on this other side. So how united is that? Because these are leaders still from the same mountain, but speaking different voices, have their own preferences.
Remember, as you said, the mountain is made of different regions. Gathoni wa Mushomba is speaking in Kiambu. Probably she has her own interest in Kiambu.
But isn't it
Mutahi
Kagwe
is speaking her own interest in Nyeri. Right? We are only united by one common factor. Right? President Uhuru Kenyatta. And that does not mean, Cynthia, if you have your children, there are no small bickering around them.
All right. Now that you've said that, what is the role of former President Uhuru Kenyatta right now? Will he be the biggest beneficiary between this split of the two leaders in office?
I don't know what you mean per se by the split of between the two.
Between the president and his deputy. If, you know, it gets to a point of no return, who will be the biggest beneficiary?
Remember, be as it may right now, my party leader is really quiet, because he has understood one common thing about the people. Our people are quietly and silently watching. They carefully and calculative make decisions. They already elected a government that is supposed to work for them. Right now, their hands are tied. They cannot do anything until 2027. So we are waiting to come 2027. Will the joint ticket of President William Ruto and Honorable Rigathi Gachagua deliver the promises? Remember, there are so many stalled projects within the mountain region that President William Ruto had promised to deliver. Remember the coffee sector. Remember the alcoholism that is being fought in the mountain region. Remember the tea sector. Remember the dairy sector. These are the things that the people of the mountain are talking about, right? The only common factor that we are talking about is our issue, because we are the people of the mountain are largely farmers, right? There is still a pending issue about the sale of Mira and the sale of Mogoka that still needs to be addressed, Cynthia.
Yeah.
Largely, and I'm almost certain these are the issues that my party leader always address, that the people of the mountain, their interests are met.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, if you look at this censure motion that has been filed by Tana River Senator Danson Mungatana, the lawmaker says he's filed the motion alleging that the DP has engaged in divisive politics and betrayal or betrayed his oath of office, among others. So, underline that sentence on he alleges the DP has engaged in divisive politics. Is that what it is from where you sit? Is that what the Deputy President is engaging in politically from where you sit? Well,
I would not want to be an advocate for the Deputy President, because, again, these are the who's that he got himself into, because these are his own people who are fighting him. I would want to understand what Danson Mungatana, all the way from Tana River, how he also communicates to his people. Because in a nutshell, he's trying to say that Honorable Rigathi Gachagua is tribal, right? And what is clearly coming out in our Kenyan politics, that politics is local. You first need to talk to your people.
So there's a difference between tribal politics and local politics.
You understand? And at the end of the day, let us appreciate our ethnicity. Cynthia, there's a thin line between being tribal and embracing your ethnicity. If your people appreciate you by you speaking to them in your mother tongue, I cannot come to and not unless I'm coming from the neighborhood community. If your people appreciate you talking to them through where your native is, right? And they want you to communicate to them through that language, you cannot speak to them in French, Cynthia. You cannot. Yeah? If they want you to speak in English, then speak to them in English, right? And one thing I also want to understand, I also want to put Danson Mungatana on spot. What has he done for the people of Tana River? Right? We are focusing so much on the office of the Deputy President, on the office of the President. We want this government to deliver, be as it may. Let us not focus so much on what these individual officers can do. We want this government, because since Danson Mungatana is part of this government, the people of Tana River still are struggling with the drought. They just came out from a huge flooding chaos. What is the budget allocation that he has gone to the Senate and fought for the people of Tana River? That is what Kenyans are asking. Yeah. Right? You see, these are just, I told you before, gimmicks. As we speak, no one is even remembering we had a Gen Z revolution. It's almost forgotten. Yeah. There were issues that we discussed. There are still lives there are still people who are still missing, Cynthia. So what are we not supposed to concentrate on that? That over 40 or 50 young people died on 25th of June. Yet this government does not want to address that. Over hundreds of thousands Kenyans have still not joined the universities, Cynthia. Our mothers, our fathers are crying of the new education funding. We are still not addressing it. Right? The help that the current students who are still in university depend on is still not functioning. I don't know whether to pay NHIF. I don't know what is SHIF. I don't know if it is SIF or NIF. We are just in that confused limbo state, Cynthia. Yet we choose to focus on politics. People elected this government so that it serves its people.
Right.
Yeah.
So who's to be blamed? Because what you're looking at is, you know, hints of an impeachment motion that will be filed, if it will ever be filed for that matter. And according to the Constitution, you can only impeach a deputy president if, you know, you've proven beyond reasonable doubt that he's, you know, he or she has violated the Constitution, has mental incapacity, gross misconduct, has broken international laws.
Yes.
And so, looking at where we are now, you've said it's just gimmicks. And so, does this now point back to these are just, you know, political gimmicks that are, you know, in place, and these are leaders that Kenyans themselves voted into office?
You know, Article 149 and Article 150 clearly states the removal of the president and the removal of the deputy president. And you've clearly stated them very well of the Constitution. And as it may, I was just trying to understand how the president actually can come out of office. Has he violated any international laws? Yeah. Has he gone against Chapter 6 of integrity of the Constitution? Is he mental or physical incapacitated? So that if there's a motion that it's being taken to Senate or is being taken to National Assembly, we can do a joint ticket. Are you understanding, Cynthia? Because right now it's the presidency, right, that is on the line. And I'm telling Kenyans, if Rigathi is going, so is Ruto is going. It's a joint ticket. Right. Because these are people who came on a joint ticket. Let us not kid ourselves that one is a saint, the other one is a devil. They promised Kenyans that they are going to deliver their manifesto. Let them deliver their manifesto. If they cannot deliver a manifesto, they resign, we go to an election, we elect new people in office. Yes.
Now, I'll go back to the initial former President Uhuru Kenyatta factor. And, you know, in that particular address or interview, the Deputy President as well said something, and this was exactly what he said. Former President Uhuru Kenyatta is the undisputed Mount Kenya kingpin, to which you seem to agree with him that he is the undisputed Mount Kenya kingpin. But what is the weight of that particular statement, coming at a time that even the president himself has decided, you know, to put his differences aside with former Prime Minister Raila Odinga, and has even involved some of the ODM members in cabinet? What is the weight of that statement coming from a deputy president? You
know, the people of the mountain clearly know who their leader is. You see, Muthamaki is a person who's a leader who's supposed to bring all people together, politically, business-wise, and also socially. So it's a role that is supposed to culminate leadership and all the temperatures within the leadership. And it seems as if the deputy president, he had forgotten that, because he took his current boss on an 8-hour journey, and he also invited people to eat rice.
And you
to celebrate
against the rice.
Yeah? You see, he seems to have forgotten all that. Yeah? He seems to have forgotten all that. Right now, it's as if the selective amnesia has disappeared. All of a sudden, he has remembered that President Uhuru Kenyatta is a sovereign king of, undisputed king in his own words, undisputed king of the mountain. So he's either deceiving his own people, or he's telling his people that I was just here for a short-term goal.
Does that hint to any possible alliances?
Between who and who?
former President Uhuru Kenyatta and the Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua?
Well, it's too early to consider that, because I said it here before. Majority of us who come from the mountain, and we still feel that Honorable Rigathi Gachagua ought to do a formal apology the right way. And when you see, if I apologize to you, it has to, you have to also acknowledge it as it seems, Cynthia. But as it seems right now, he's just he's playing a trap method to engage my party leader to endorse him as the spokesperson of the mountain, which unfortunately, as it right now, it may not happen, because he went to the people of the mountain. He said that Uhuru is a bad person. Uhuru cannot bring Raila to the mountain, and right now he wants Uhuru's help to help him with his own boss. President Uhuru Kenyatta is not in the government. He's retired. He's enjoying his privileges. That is why he's really quiet. So let the man be. Let the man be. Cynthia, let the man be. Yeah.
All right, I'd love us to listen, and Joel, let me know if we have it, to what Gladys Boss-Sholei, the Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly, hinted at, and once we have it, we'll get back to it. But let's speak about this Deputy President's office, this particular office. There could only be perhaps more than two ways about it, but what I'm thinking is, one, it gets the wrong people in office, or two, it's an office that is not properly protected within the Constitution. And, that is something I'd love us to get into once we listen into the Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly, Gladys Boss-Sholei, and what she had to say.
Amajegeyan tugulgele magiyo nichi kochesane Arab Ruto iwezekani. Wale Rigathi Gachagua, mimi mwenyewe nitakupeleka nyumbani. I am putting you, Rigathi Gachagua, on notice. You are going to be impeached. I can confirm that to you today, and I shall be in charge of that impeachment myself. So and for those who have not understood, they here at home, they call me Cheba Muren, Iron Lady. So I'm telling them, don't worry, no one can touch Ruto when I am there. So tonight, you disrespect and Rigathi Gachagua, you have been very disrespectful of the president. You have committed gross insubordination. You have violated the National Cohesion Act because you are busy preaching tribal politics. You have committed enough offenses, and now we have said enough is enough. We will send you home, or you resign by yourself. If you don't want to be you don't respect your president, then go home, resign. We don't need you. So asanteni sana, Mungu awabariki. Sitarudi Nandi County kongainisi.
Well, Gladys Boss-Sholei, Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly, who says she will, she will push that motion herself, accuses the DP of gross insubordination and violating the Constitution. Nick, this office of the Deputy President, what is wrong with it? Because the now President William Ruto, who was the then Deputy President, has been almost receiving the same fire in terms of being accused of doing this and doing that while they're still in office.
First of all, before we talk about the issue of the office of the Deputy President, it's very ironical that Gladys Boss-Sholei is addressing his people in native language, and he accuses the Deputy President of being decisive and bring tribal. He's whipping emotions to his people. That's already decisive, but that's beside the point. I think one of the fault of the Constitution, not just the office of the Deputy President, but the office of also the Deputy Governor, we have seen that there was just a loophole that the Kenyan Constitution, the architects of the Kenyan Constitution 2010 did not foresee. Yeah. That the only mandate of the principal assistant of the president and the principal assistant of the governor, the office of the presidency and the office of the governor, the deputy governor and the deputy president, they are only just principal assistant. Those are the loopholes that are now creating a lot of chaos, because these offices need to be independent to avoid, let me say, what's the word that I'm saying? To avoid
differences that may arise? Not
really differences, rather, but you see, when you make an office, this is a clear office of Ministry of Interior. We know these are the duties of the Ministry of Interior. The office of the deputy president and the office of the deputy governor solemnly rely on their boss, who will allocate them duties. Yeah. So it's a matter of, should we consider whether to bring a motion to Parliament or to Senate that now separates the office of the deputy president from the office of the president, or the office of the deputy governor from the office of the governor? Because it's not just the office of the deputy president that is receiving fire. We have seen in Kisii, we have seen in Meru, we have seen in other counties, the deputy governors are seeing fires. So this should also be alarming to the lawmakers and bring a conversation about something that needs to be done around that office.
Is it about time that the constitution is amended to provide clear roles, as you've mentioned it, in terms of ensuring that this office, becomes independent?
Well, majority of the argument is our Kenyan constitution is just 14 years, right? It has had its challenges. It has had also its strength. And if we are amending the constitution, are we amending the constitution to serve the interests of the people, or are we amending the constitution to serve the interest of individual? That is what we are supposed to be asking ourselves today. That the constitution is supreme. It's supposed to protect the people, it's supposed to lead, it's supposed to guide the people, and it's supposed also to lead the people.
Yeah. And
right now, it appears as if people are infringing the constitution. Because you have seen recent events about court orders being defied from the executive still. We've seen a lot of defiance from the office of the Inspector General, right? So right now, we need to focus on, focusing on delivering for the people, Cynthia. Because if we focus so much on amending the constitution and the people are still not receiving services, then to what is the purpose of it in the first place?
From where you sit, do you feel what is currently happening politically and the lessons that many Kenyans or a section of Kenyans may have learned from 2022, will it influence much their decisions on how they vote come 2027?
Largely no. People will still vote according to where they come from.
Then how do we change to the politics? You're saying issue-based politics.
The people of our generation, me and you, Cynthia, can make that decision. We went out on the 25th of June. We just need to be consistent. We just need to be consistent. Let us not get greedy. We need to be consistent and fight for our issues. Let us not get divided and being confused on what we're supposed to represent. But one thing I assure you, Cynthia, come 2027, there will be a lot of young people in Parliament. The young people are now deciding that they are going to replace their MPs, their senators, their MCAs. I just hope many of us who go to Parliament in 2027 that do not adopt the old culture, because an old culture, before it dies, it takes time. It's a system. So it's upon the majority who decide that this culture of politics based on tribe needs to reduce, largely. But if our people, the young people now, decide that this is the notion that we need to propagate, then unfortunately, we are back to square one.
Right.
Yes. And I told you the other day here, the Gen Z movement only covered 1%. A lot of conversation needs to be taken to mashinani. And we hope that in as much as we are embracing our ethnicity, let us not use it for dividing people. Let us not use it not to serve our people. Because everything has its pros and cons, Cynthia. There's just a thin line between being embracing your culture and being tribal. Yes.
Right. Okay. For the Kenya Kwanza administration, because they recently marked 2 years in office, you know, mixed reactions really basically on what they've been able to do in office. There are those who feel they've done the best that they could, and there are those who feel they have not done anything at all. And so how would you assess how their 2 years has been, especially for the administration? It's
2 years, 11 days. Today marks 11th day. Unfortunate for them, they have been doing a lot of politics. And unfortunate for them, they will still do a lot of politics in the next 3 years. Unfortunate for them, this government needs to go home, Cynthia. We cannot assess anything. It's just promises. And you've seen the young man called Kibaso Morano. A young man of our age, Cynthia, who is saying that projects have been launched by the president, but nothing is being done.
Are you telling Kenyans this morning that there's nothing hopeful within the next 3 years?
I'm telling Kenyans that this government needs to go home.
But that's 2027.
Yes, that's the least we can do, because our issues are going to be bigger and bigger by the day. In the 2 years, Cynthia, have you seen any progress in terms of economy? In the 2 years, have you seen any progress in terms of the working education funding model to now the new education funding model? I have seen a lot of dropout of students. I have seen a lot of patients dying in hospitals because there is no substantive medical cover. I have seen our businesses being closed down. I have seen the Adani issue that we are discussing today. So what exactly are we talking about that this government has done?
As the opposition, or as part of the opposition,
yes,
how much have you done to keep the government in check, especially as Jubilee Party?
You see, that's the notion that people have. It's the responsibility of the opposition to keep this government in check. The government needs to work for its people. The opposition just needs to push them to deliver.
How much have you pushed?
We are pushing. Right? But at the same time, it's the solemnly purpose of both the parliament, the parliament and the county government to make sure there is service delivery for its people. Because right now, Cynthia, the legislature is in charge of making laws and policies. The government, the executive is in charge of implementing those policies. And you see the judiciary is supposed to maintain these laws, supposed to uphold the constitution. But these arms of government are not, one arm of government, that is the executive, seems to be in bed with another arm of government at the expense of that arm of government. The work of the opposition, be as it may, politically, because these are not an official role, Cynthia. It's not, someone is not getting paid. Our work is to make noise so that the president deliver his mandate. Is to make sure the common mwananchi, despite us not reaching the majority, they need to be heard. Because remember, also these people from the opposition have a following that need to be heard. And when this government started, they said this is a government of shareholders. Unfortunately, we have seen those who did not have shares, they are also coming in government, Cynthia. So the opposition is still intact. And we are going to talk about issues of this government that they need to deliver. I read each and every day, I turn a page on their manifesto. I don't see anything. The issues of housing, people are still paying 1.5 tax housing levy. We even stopped complaining about it and even became comfortable.
We've not seen much of your party, SG.
Yes.
Jeremiah Kioni.
My SG is doing a lot of work. Yes, he's going around the country telling people that this government needs to go. This government conned people into electing them. It was purely conmanship. My SG is not taking any sympathy with what is happening with Honorable Rigathi Gachagua. Honorable Jeremiah Kioni is active as it may, fully in opposition.
All right. Now, I'd love us to wrap this conversation up, Nick, and we'd love to finish on the youthful note, for that matter.
Yes.
Because if June and July is anything to go by, then they've got the voices. They've got the masses and they've got the voices. At this point, how do you now shift how you do your politics as youths? Because clearly the old and the tradition will still prevail, because as they say, you know, they've been there, and so they know what needs to be done and what needs not to be done. So how will you shift the mindset of Kenyans or change that particular mindset? Because as it stands, you said it in your own words, the Gen Z protest is history. So how are you able now to get back to life as youths?
I told you here before, Cynthia, we are the majority. We are the majority of the voters. We are the majority of the loudest people. We are the majority of population. But we are still convinced by the old guards. So the question that you're supposed to be asking ourselves, Cynthia, what is exactly wrong with us? If we have everything that is in our favor, what is failing us from working? How come we've allowed what we fought for? Yet over 50 people, young men and women who died, just to pass like that. Where is our grit? Where is our consistency, Cynthia? We need to see these young people again coming back and say, enough is enough about this Kenya Kwanza government. We cannot hear about them bickering about one another, office versus office. Let them talk about issues. Over 2 months, Cynthia, young people had populated media houses. Where are they right now? Is it that they've forgotten about the battle? Because we've still not won the war. We might have won the battle, but we have not won the war.
Right.
Yes.
All right, so thank you very much for coming in.
Yes.
Nick Mwadime Mwangi, who's the youth chair of Jubilee Party, as well as the Mount Kenya Colleges and Universities Student Association Executive Director. I recently saw you had the men's conference.
Yes. We were doing a men's. I told you here, we in Mkusa, tunajipanga. We did a women conference. We did a men's conference. We're going to do another conference because that is how we set an agenda.
And Kalonzo Musyoka was the chief of guest, yeah?
And also, we had different leaders from the UDA because, as we said, let us bring all political parties together because we will only be ignorant to assume that there are no young people in different political parties. We want to bring all the young people together so that we speak our own language.
Right.
Yes. And I know you're going to tell me to give my remarks. Let me just do it right now.
Yes, please go ahead.
Please accept my honorable greetings for my national chairman, Honorable Faris Jane, and all the members of Mkusa and all the members of Jubilee. And also allow me, Cynthia, because we have a member from Mount Kenya Colleges and Student Association by the name Mary Wanjiru Njuru, all the way from Nakuru. She's a teacher. But she says that today is a happy birthday and she wants you to personally wish her a happy birthday.
Mary Wanjiru?
Mary Wanjiru Njuru.
Mary Wanjiru Njuru.
Yes.
So, Mary Wanjiru Njuru, Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday, happy turnings. And I hope we've changed your life with this conversation this morning. All right, thank you very much, Nick, for coming in. Thank you so much for your introspect on this conversation this morning. Remember, if you've missed this, you can rewatch it across our social media platforms. That is on EBN TV. Keep the conversation going, keep the feedback going. Our SMS line is 23059. Allow me to wrap it up because we're just out of time. But remember, coming up at the top of the hour is Your Faith with the Reverend Felix Kavoy. Thank you very much. My name is Cynthia Nanjala. Have yourself a wonderful morning ahead.